Good day and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So for today I'm going to be trying out a different method of doing the video. I'm going to give all the fittings in the start of the video, and then I'm going to go into breaking down the reason for each fitting, explaining it like I normally do in each video. So before I start with the content, I'd like to ask you all to please leave a like or comment on my video, and consider subscribing to my channel. If you dislike the video, please leave a comment saying where you don't like my video, because that will help me in the future. I've already know that some of my best fits are really crappy on certain ships, as was explained to me about the Kenyu. The heavy armor build doesn't work really well on it, and that was just about the best that I could do on it at the time. I'm gonna go through it again and see if I can find a better build for it. Okay, so let's get into this video right now, starting with the Hurricane prototype. Now, I had to add in a few extra ships to my entire log because things were going to be slightly different. So let's get in with the fittings. So this is a cannon build vessel. So cannon build vessel means you're going to be using cannons on the ship. Now, as explained before, vessels from this class, you won't have maximum command on them as yet. So playing ranged battle isn't going to be such a good option for you. So you're going to use the closer range weapons, and you're going to use the closer range cannons in this case. If I'm correct, you get two types of projectile cannons, auto cannon and regular cannon. So you're going to be going for the auto cannon with the shorter range on it, and that's going to be your best slot for this ship at the moment. Okay, for your drone, because you are running a projectile and it's giving you explosive and kinetic damage, your best option on your drone is going to be an EM drone to remove shield on vessels. Okay, your mid slot, your three slots are going to be two Webifiers and a NOS energy drain. It's going to be the best suited to this particular type of vessel, because most of the other vessels you're going to run into, you can't really drain them that well. You can drain anything higher than you much easier than you can drain something which is lower than you. That's why running three NOS energy draining devices isn't going to help you as much as running one and two Webifiers, where you can stop the slow vessel and hit it at that point. Okay, for your low slots, since a lot of players are now into that first week and the build on the vessels are going to start changing up, where you're going to be able to put better equipment because you now have more command, you have more defense, you have more engineering, and depending which way you went first. So here are the options on the vessel. You can run the defensive build to help you tank more in that close range. So you're going to run shield hardener, shield extender, and shield booster. Then your next two slots are going to be either a damage control and sorry about this, I'm mistaking this one, damage control unit and an afterburner, or afterburner and a micro warp drive in the last two slots, because that will give you that little bit of bonus speed on these vessels, allowing you to move a little bit faster. So what else is there that you can put on these vessels in that low slot if you want to boost up, say for example, damage? You can run a shield hardener and shield booster with a command rig of a full defensive build, or you can run a full offensive build command rig that's in your combat rigs, depending on which way you're going in your low slot. If your low slot is full defensive, you're going to run more defensive equipment to make sure that you can tank more damage. If you want to make your ship a little bit more heavier on the firepower, you can run a full offensive rig in that slot. But I would suggest that if you're running a full offensive rig, you run the shield extender, shield booster, and shield hardener anyway on the ship to give you that little bit of extra so you can last in a fight. And you might even consider running the ranged battle at that point. So you're going to pull yourself a little bit further back. Instead of having a damage control unit, you are going to run how is it? A tracking computer to give you better acquisition. So those are the types of fittings you're going to put onto these vessels to give you that slight range and that slight power. And you can pull back a little bit more. You can use the range combat a little bit more, and you have to make sure that you align yourself properly so you can warp out as fast as possible. Okay, so for your engineering rigs, what are you going to place on the ship? You're going to boost its speed, you're going to boost its power, and you're going to boost its regen on capacity. Now, the reason why you're going to boost its regen and its speed is, regardless of what you're using, it is going to drain through power quite fast with the medium gear. It's standard with all the vessels. Uh, okay, I haven't actually used any of these vessels as yet. I am getting a cyclone for myself because I have the best research in my missiles. So I'm only going to get a missile vessel for myself, and I am going to be running a defensive rig on it. That is straight up. That's what I do. Uh, my Navy Caracal vessel, the best build that I made for the defensive build for it, I have tested it out in PvP combat, and to be honest, everybody else in my fleet got whacked more than 25% of their shield down in a single shot, and they had been taking fire from three guys with closer range weapons than us, and they took down all of the other vessels in our fleet in a matter of minutes. Now, this is after I've given the best slot build, so I am going to elaborate on a little bit more. I'm going to extend what I'm going to explain. So when I use my best build on my Caracal with the extra shield gain, the shield extender, shield booster, I was able to tank 5 hits from the enemies before they took me down 25%. And then I started regen and I did shield extender at the same time, and they still didn't manage to get through the shield extender before my shield completely regened. I was able to open fire on them, but I didn't do it because they were considered an ally corp, and the fact that they were fighting us was just like something random to us. We didn't understand what was going on. We warped out. We got into another uh, area. We explained the whole situation, and overall, what that taught me was my build for defense on the Caracal ship was perfect. It worked exactly as it should have worked. It allowed me to tank a lot more, and I was doing fantastic damage. Had I had on my torpedo launchers like I was going to set out with in the start, those vessels that came in very close to me, trying to gain on me with firepower, I most probably would have ripped right through 3 of their vessels before they even managed to break my shield, because they were running most probably a heavy offense build against my heavy defense build. I haven't yet upgraded my defense on my ship, so I'm only running core defense 1. I am going to start buying core defense 2 for my battle cruiser, and that's what I am going to run on the battle cruiser. It's going to be an extreme tank. The whole idea is it must be heavy on taking damage, and it must be able to dish out a ton of damage with the best weapons possible. So I'm going to try and get it onto a torpedo launcher. Hopefully I can get the range to over 20 kilometers. And I'll be running my Cyclone in the same way that most players run uh, their cruisers, in the close range for the heavy fire. That's because I most probably will have a boost in shield that will give me almost 20,000 shield on its own. That's going to make me very tanky and allow me to do a lot of damage with 6 weapons. Okay, so explaining that, let's get into this ship's breakdown. So this ship has a roll bonus on cannons. It gives you 25% range and 25% on your fall off accuracy. So what this means is this battle cruiser will benefit the best from cannons. Cannons will give it better firepower, better range, and it has one command burst module slot like all the others. Now here's something which I don't really understand properly. What's the command burst module slots? Right? I understand that it has an extra module slot. I just don't understand what's command burst module slot. Okay. Right. So this also gains on its medium cannon damage and medium cannon activation time. So it gives you a plus 3% on the damage and minuses 3% of the time. And that's for every level on your advanced medium cannon upgrades. So what this means for you as a cannon user is if you have all 5 levels researched up, which I have updated my time on the estimate, my estimate is now near 450 hours just to complete all the way into expert research. The reason for that is I completed all of my research into advanced. I double checked all of my times, I added them together, and the average that I was getting was now almost doubled, and not doubled, it jumped up to over 300. And then I figured that if expert runs in a similar manner, it's going to push me up all the way to 400, because once you pass 3, I expect everything to take more than 5 days, and I expect expert to take almost a month to reach level 5. So that's what I learned from the research. Okay, so continuing on with this vessel, sorry about that. The next thing is it has a 5% velocity gain, and it improves with the command bonus of the ship. So battlecruiser command, if you have it maxed out to expert level, you are going to be gaining quite a lot of speed on this vessel. By what I'm calculating, 15 times 5 is 75%. 75% extra velocity on its standard, plus you can add on an afterburner. This vessel might be able to match a battle cruiser without the full kit on its not a battle cruiser, a cruiser without the full kit on its acceleration. So if you have a cruiser and you are running it with just the afterburner without adding engineering auxiliary acceleration, you are going to be getting a total blast on them. You'll be able to match them in speed. That's going to give you an edge on your small ships as well. You'll be able to catch them and destroy them. Remember, tracing velocity or tracking velocity is worked out uh, by by working out the difference in speed between you and your enemy vessel. So that's how you know whether you can trace them and destroy them. All right. So let's move on to discussing its basic info. Unlike the other vessels, this vessel hasn't broken the 20,000 mark properly. It's just below 20,000, but I'm going to count it as 20,000 overall defense. That puts it in the exact same class of defense as your as your cruisers. So this battle cruiser is more like a cruiser in terms of its build. It just has the advantage of an extra weapon slot. So going down on this, velocity is 200 meters per second. It's comparable to some of your cruisers who are at 217 or 215 off the bat before they even start being upgraded. And that's the slower ones. The faster ones are about 245 or 250. I'm not exactly sure on that. Warp speed is the standard with all battle cruisers, 2.7 AU. Power grid output, 786 megawatts. It's very low compared to the others. Capacitor, 2259 gigajoules. Extremely low. It is in the same level as a cruiser at this rate. And its cargo hold is quite small. Okay. Standard shield resistance. Now let's go into your basic info. All right. Now let's get into the fittings. Right. Straight up, first thing you can see, it is a shield tank. I'm not exactly sure which faction the Hurricane falls in. I wasn't actually preparing to do the Hurricane. I just added it into my list when I realized I didn't have a cannon vessel. So I didn't actually check which faction it belongs to before I started the video. So let's go back in there. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's look at this bonus. Its shield is very strong, armor is mid, and structure is low. I would think this is a Minmatar vessel just because of the fact that it has a heavy shield. And its armor isn't stronger than its shield, but its armor is stronger than its structure. This most probably is Minmatar. I'm not exactly 100% on that. Okay, going down. It has very, very poor recharge time. You definitely have to run the standard regen, as I was explaining in my build. This is the reason why it has low regen. I even explained that you need to put 25% extra capacity into this here. That's because you need that extra capacity due to it being very low powered for this type of vessel. Okay, continuing down. 6 lock, 200 meters per second. It is quite fast for most of the battle cruisers that we have right now. Projectile cannons are very good at stripping away armor on vessels, they're weaker against shields on vessels. So remember, whatever you do, keep your drone balanced a little bit more towards taking down the shield for you. That's for PvE. In PvP, your drone doesn't really play much of a role. If you're going to deploy a drone, it's just a quick little 2-hit or 3-hit ploy to get the opponent off you for that little time, because they need to get rid of that drone, because if they leave the drone to hit them, it's going to do a lot more damage than it seems like it should. Because even if I'm running my extreme damage resistance build, if someone deploys a drone with EM damage against my shield, it's going to rip through my shield like it didn't exist. And that will reduce me by about 7 or 8% per hit, and 3 hits in 10 seconds, or 3 hits in 12 seconds, 7, 8, 7, 14, 20, 21% in 3 hits. If I leave it alone for those 3 hits and let it keep going, by the time I have launched my second volley of missiles, it's going to already have destroyed 40% of my shield, plus the other enemies hitting me are going to be taking me down well below 50. They're going to get into the faster drop on my shield, and I'm going to be losing power quicker because of the amount of stress I'm going to put on my system. So that's how it's going to run. That's why you use those medium shields, those medium EM drones. And that's the only reason you deploy it in the start, so that someone knows they have to counter you as fast as possible. Obviously, if you're running in a fleet, it's a different story, but that's where this ship shines the most, taking out armor. Okay, now a lot of people disagree with me on this whole takes out armor quicker, takes out shields quicker, but look at this carefully, right? If you look at your cannon projectiles, the damage is best in the explosive and kinetic. And if I am incorrect, it's going to be kinetic and thermal. Although I think kinetic and thermal is your railguns, but let's just say that I am correct, and it is kinetic and explosive. Kinetic and explosive against shields are the two weakest damages you can ever have. So your projectile cannon is registering a 0 on the side of explosive, and it's registering 10 on the side of kinetic. So you're literally ticking away at the shield at 10% per tick. Okay, once you're done with the shield, you're going into the armor. Now let's say you've forcing another hurricane. The moment you start hitting with your projectiles onto the armor, you're minusing 10% from your assault. And as I'm explaining, I'm calculating assault jet 50 power. Although you have more power, I know it is a lot more powerful. I'm just estimating at the low range. So 10% minus 40, so that's 40 per hit into the armor. That's a big damage. Compared to if you're running an EM at 50, you are doing 0 damage. It's absolutely immune to your EM damage on its hull at that point. And your kinetic is minus 25%, you're still doing 25% damage. So altogether from your 50 and 50, you're doing 75. I am estimating at a lower range. I know that all the damages are over 130, 160. The reason for me reducing that figure is to show you what it looks like with weaker weapons, because some people will play the weaker weapons, and some people don't have any research but still buy the vessel and run with it, and they wonder why they don't do any damage. Now, for someone like me who doesn't have all the research, I know I'm going to be just under 100. But let's just say, for example, I didn't have projectile cannons, which I currently do have quite a bit. I don't have projectile cannons, so I fit up my vessel with, let's see, I fit up my vessels with small projectile MK3s to make it cheap for my quick build. So MK3s will work, smalls will work. They're not going to be efficient, they're not going to be powerful. I'm going to hit an enemy and I'm going to do zilch. And that's exactly what I'm trying to explain against the shield. But against the armor, I'm still going to do fantastic damage considering the weapon that I'd be using. Okay, in terms of structure, every weapon does the same against structure. They cancel out 33% of the damage, and the rest goes straight into the damage itself. And since it's so low on reduction, you're definitely going to tear through most armor hulls on the ships. Right. So continuing on with this whole build and setup, why did I say this is the best for the shield build? Number one, this is best built with a shield tank if you're going for a defensive build. It is also best built with a heavy offensive rig for the second half of a battle. So a second half of the battle will be the moment you get through the shield. But in order for you to get through the shield, you need to last long enough in the battle with your shield to be able to get into your opponent's shield. So that's why you're still going to run defensive equipment. Remember, if you're running something like a missile launcher, you're not really worried about it. You're going to be doing constant damage throughout your entire fight, and you're going to get into everything with about the same amount of damage. You do equal damage to just about any part of the ship. Okay, if you're running EM, you're going to fly through a shield. You don't have to worry so much about your shield. And the moment you get into the vessel's armor, that's when you need to swap up and change up your weapons a little bit, or you need to work on overloading your weapon slot to do more damage to the armor. Any armor tanks against EM weapons are going to tank it like they're immune. As simple as I can say it, it'll seem like they're immune to all your damage. Okay, in terms of power, the reason for the rig slots in your engineering being power and acceleration is the ship already has good enough acceleration to start off with for speed. And you're going to be adding that 15, or I'm not sure exactly what it is in level 3, but you're going to be adding one of those expensive boosts to its speed. It's going to pull up the speed quickly, and it's going to help you out with moving it faster. In terms of its capacity regen, you want it to be higher. 10.7 is extremely low for a battle cruiser. The fact that its power is 2,259 means it is extremely weak compared to the others. The others are almost at 3,000. They are 2,500, 2,800. You need to get the power up onto those levels. Projectile cannons, just like missile launchers, use extremely negligible amounts of power to activate, and they use very small amounts when they're firing. They use such a small amount that your regen at any 1 second is likely greater than all of your weapons activated at the exact same moment. So remember that they do use power, it's just so small. The power grid on the ship is extremely tiny. So if you are thinking of overloading one slot with a large weapon, very bad idea. It won't work on this vessel. And the only reason you use a large weapon is to gain range with these vessels, because you need that massive range if you're going to try and play range to get out of the fight. And when I say massive, I mean massive. On my large missile launches, I get 64 kilometers. And the only reason you're going to try and get 64 kilometers on your missiles is because you want to get that extra range while keeping your shield extremely hard, or keeping yourself with the warp disruptor and fitting out a different rig at the bottom. So that's the ways in which you will play this. Your mid slot on the ship, because it seems similar to cruiser, can change between the damage and tank build very easily. It's not going to affect you that bad because of its speed. Remember, because of its speed, it can tank more damage as well compared to the other battle cruisers. So the Hurricane will be one of the more tough cruisers in terms of hitting it, because when you hit it, it won't register full damage every single time. It can gain quite a lot of speed. Hitting it with a Weber fire would be a good idea if you're ever fighting against a Hurricane, because of its speed. And once you've hit it and Weber fired it, you can blast right through it quite easily, because reducing all of its buffs and bonuses will reduce it to the same class as most vessels. At which point you can blast right through its shield, break through the armor, and break into the hull if possible. Okay, so that is how you should build the ship. Let's see how far. Oh my god. Sorry about that. I was trying to keep this video short. So that is how you are going to build this, and that is the best suited build that I can think of. Now, this is my opinion. It is not the very best possible build in the world. Someone else might come up with another build that can quadruple the armor, because there's something that I didn't think of, like maybe I didn't know a gyro weapon accelerator improves your shield regen, or speeds up your shield boost, shield extender, shield hardener. I'm not sure if there's a glitch, or if that is how it's supposed to work, or if that even works. But if those things do work, it could change up the entire defensive build. Then you'd put one of those weapons on in your low slot instead of a damage control unit. Because even though they activate once every 60 seconds, that boosts everything on your vessel and not just your shield. If it does work that way, which I doubt it does. But that's just the whole impact that I'm going for. Even though these are the best builds from my videos, this is Elementary 72's best builds. They aren't Eve Echo's best builds, right? Even though the videos are of Eve Echoes, it is Elementary 72. It is my personal opinion. This channel is a personal channel. It's for my fun. It's for the fun of the community who watch me. Anybody who wants to go with my build can go with it. My fleeting strategies and skills are standard, broad spectrum fleeting strategy. You can always alter it. You can quadruple your attack. You can only run attack class vessels instead of running any defensive vessels in a fleet. It will work. You can run a full defensive fleet and it can work 10 times better than a fleet with support. That's because you are running different builds, and different builds play differently in battle. And as I said, everybody has a role. Depending on how you play, you will always build your ship. When you just break T7, the reason why these builds are going to seem extraordinarily good if you do it the moment you breach into T7 and take out the ship is because any other build is just going to get hit hard. You're going to get stuck in close range all the time, and you're going to wonder why in the world aren't your long range weapons giving you that range that you need, and why are the ships gaining on you so fast. And that's because you've just started in this level. You don't have enough research in your ship, and it's not going to give you that super bonus that you need. Okay, so thank you for watching.